Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the College of Glamour Bard in Baldur's Gate 3. So this class will be coming as a patch 8. I'm using a mod version because I don't have access to patch 8 just yet, but this mod is pretty much identical to the in-game version. This mod is made by Ellipsoid314, so I'll be taking you through the full build, a little bit of a guide to combat and gear. Now, we got ourselves some pretty good choices for cantrips, so we're going to go with Vicious Mockery here. And you can go with Friends too, because Friends is really useful in a lot of situations. But if you got the ability to take Booming Blade, I'd highly recommend taking that. Mistress spells will add it if you don't have the patch 8. And for our spell selection, I think Longstriders are a really nice one to have. Another nice thing is you actually have two abilities to add movement speed, and I think it's always nice to have more movement speed. There's never a situation where you don't want more, so that's solid. I also like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, knock a creature prone. Thunderwave to push back all creatures, and you can literally just knock them right off the ledge. And we got a Healing Word just for a bonus action heal. If someone goes down, you can use that. For our ability scores, I think 16 Charisma works well, and 16 Dexterity, 14 Constitution, and 10 Intelligence and Wisdom. You can also put 17 Charisma and use the Hag's Hair if you really want to, but I'm not going to go that route. And we'll go with something like that. I'll also be covering gear, some early game gear as well, like swords like the Falar Aluve can be a really nice weapon to toss on here for the extra thunder damage. At level 2, we get the Jack of all Trades, adding half proficiency bonus to ability checks that we're not proficient in, and the Song of Rest, giving us a short rest for free. And for the spells, we'll take it next level. Heroism's nice, but we already have an ability to give temporary health, so Dissonant Whispers is nice for potentially being able to frighten a target. At level 3, we get to choose our subclass, and here's where we're going to go with the College of Glamour. So, with this, we get ourselves the Mantle of Inspiration. Each ally within range gains 5 temporary health points and gains double their movement speed next turn. So this is basically just the change from the original Dungeons & Dragons, which gives you movement speed right away. This will double their movement speed next turn, basically just giving them extra movement. And then we also have the Enthralling Performance. Play a song that charms humanoids to prevent them from attacking you. You gain advantage on charisma checks and dialogue. And with this, we also get level 2 spells. So there's a nice way to actually go about doing this, because we're kind of like, as a College of Glamour, you're not supposed to be like the main attacker, but I think something like Hold Person is going to be extremely useful. A lot of people really like Cloud of Daggers, and this is a good spell. It doesn't have a check, so this can also be pretty effective. And Shatter can also be somewhat effective, but I think Hold Person brings the biggest value to our setup, especially if we're focusing on being like a team support buffer type role. At level 4, another cantrip. Minor Illusion can also work really nice, so you can use this to pull enemies around. Mage Hand to throw healing potions, or even Thunderclap if you got Mistress Spells mod, but I think that Minor Illusion works well for this. And then for our next leveled spell, Shatter or Cloud of Daggers. Which of these you prefer? Shatter is going to be immediate thunder damage, whereas Cloud of Daggers will do damage over time. And Heat Metal is another really nice consideration. Does fire damage, gives disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks, so that can be good too. Does require concentration. For our feat, I think it's best to go with an increase to our charisma, as we use charisma for a lot, and if you get a certain weapon, you can also use charisma for your damage rolls, so you don't have to worry too much about anything else. We get our improved Bardic Inspiration to a 1d8 at this level, as well as the Font of Inspiration, giving us it back at short rest. And our subclass feature, Mantle Inspiration, now recovers 8 temporary health points. Even better boost for our team. When we make it to level 3, there's some really solid options. I like Plant Growth for making it so that there's difficult terrain and it quarters movement speed. Glyph of Warding is nice to set up ahead of time. Fear can make the enemies drop their weapons, become fearful, which is really nice, giving disadvantage on attack rolls, and you can steal their weapon. Glyph of Warding is probably the best choice here, though, just for the crowd control that you can provide, and you can put people to sleep with it. Level 6, we get the Counter Charm, advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. And we also get ourselves the Mantle of Majesty here, so you can use this bonus action command to basically make someone flee, move closer, freeze, or drop to the ground, drop their weapon. It becomes really strong. And then we get to go with another spell slot here, and I think Fear can be a good one, or Plant Growth. Those are two crowd control spells that just work very well, and Fear can be nice because it hits in a cone and makes enemies drop their weapon. Once we get ourselves a level 7, we get level 4 spells, with things like Confusion being a really good choice. And we also get ourselves like Greater Invisibility if you really like that spell, but I think that Confusion probably works better here. Level 8, we get ourselves another choice in spell, and we can go back to previous levels, or even if you Mistress spells. Having Discordant Melody is really nice, as well as Ralotham Psychic Lance. We're gonna go Discordant. Actually, we'll probably go Ralotham Psychic Lance. It's gonna be a higher damage option, especially if you have the Resonant Stone. And for our level 8 feat, we'll take our charisma all the way up to 20. Just makes sense. At level 9, we're going to get ourselves level 5 spells, with the best one being Hold Monster. What's nice about Hold Monster is you can shut down enemies in late game that you normally wouldn't have any counter to. At level 10, we get our Bardic Inspiration up to a 1d10, but the big focus here is not the cantrip, the magical secrets, allowing you to pick a spell from, or 2 spells from any of the previous spell selection. I'll get to that in a second. For cantrips, take Friends or Mage Hand. For our next level 5 spell, Dominate Person can actually work pretty well, especially with the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel. And we get to choose some spells here. So Mistress Spells does work, the best one being probably Steel Wind Strike. Attack 5 targets for 6d10 force damage. You can't beat that. That's seriously just the best damage option here. But if you don't have Mistress Spells, then I would recommend my favorite combination, Cone of Cold and Conjure Elemental. You can make a level 6 Water Myrmidon and then use Cone of Cold after it sets up water. That's going to be your highest damage option, funny enough. It's going between these 2 spells. But again, Steel Wind Strike, if you got it, is really good too. I'm just gonna go with the Conjure Elemental Cone of Cold combo, just due to how overpowered surfaces and overall cold and lightning damage are with the doubling effect of Create Water. For the skill proficiencies, Intimidation and Persuasion, the 2 face rolls, are really nice because you're gonna use them often in the game. At level 11, we get ourselves another choice in spell. We got level 6 ones like Auto's Irresistible Dance and Eye Bite here. It's your choice here. We already got everything that we want from our spell selection, so we can go with something like that. And for our final level, there's a couple choices. We could go with you could have started with a level of Fighter to give yourself Constitution Saving Throw proficiency, and with that you get heavy armor and martial weapon training. We could also just go and take our feat here, or we can also add in a level of the War Cleric, as the War Cleric will give us bonus action attacks. Even though we have a good option for our bonus action, sometimes you just want to attack with it. We can also go with the Barbarian to wear clothing. I mean, that's an option you can go with, especially if you have the Constitution Amulet. This will add 6 to our armor class while wearing clothing, so that can get us really high armor class. Also taking a Wizard to ascribe something like Globe of Invulnerability, and the Minor Elementals can also work really well. The Cleric just gives us the most options though with heavy armor. I'll just stay with the Bard here just so that you guys can see what this does at max level. And then we'll go with the Alert Feat or an Ability Score Improvement to increase Dexterity. Now what this ends up looking like, so there's a couple ways we can go about it. So I have for the gear options, I went with the Hood of the Weave for the +2 to spell save DC. That's just going to be the best choice for increasing the amount of spells that we land. Cloak Protection as per usual. And for our option for armor, there's a couple ones that just make sense. If you have the light armor, or if you have something that you want to wear that. We don't get medium armor proficiency, so that's not a good choice. The Ballast Armor, on the other hand, is probably the best in slot. You do have to get up in the middle of fights to apply the vulnerability, but you can do that and then have rangers attack the targets that have that vulnerability. So yeah, that's an option. We will get a 22 armor class with a shield, and then if we have haste, we get even further. Robe of the Weave can also work nice too, for an increased spell save DC. Helldusk Armor, obviously late game, that can be good for survivability, but if you just want to get something that's going to buff up your team, the Ballast Armor, going into the middle of combat and just setting up for your team to deal damage, is probably the best choice with this. It's going to be a little bit riskier, but you can apply the temporary health. And with a shield, we get our armor class up to 22 and then 24 with haste applied, so that's really good. We can also use a Glove of Bliggering Skies and Boots of Stormy Clamor here for some reverberation stacks. Although you can just go with the classics, like if you want to increase spell save DC and overall damage, Helldusk Gloves is probably your best choice. If you want to go with boots that are going to boost up your, I guess Disintegrating Nightwalkers can actually work very well here for the Misty Step. And using those will also circumvent the ice surfaces that you make, so you won't be slipping around on them. And you won't have to think as much while using them. But we can also go with something like the Evasive Shoes to further boost up our armor class, so we can get a 25 whenever we have haste applied to our character. Ring of Protection as well, and Killer Sweetheart, Amulet of Greater Health, just for the maximum survivability. So what this will end up looking like in combat, it's mostly a team-based class, so I'll bring my companions in with me. I don't normally bring them in. Another trick is you can swap out the Staff of Spell Power, because we have ourselves this Arcane Battery, which we'll use to actually summon in a Water Myrmidon without even using a level 6 spell slot. So that's a nice free cast, and then we can always just swap back our staff here as a this is another option to go with, as I think this makes it the highest damage version. If you're just looking to be the most OP, this is probably the way to do it. Now, we can't actually set up water without having combat start, because our water Myrmidon won't allow us to do this outside of combat. The healing vapors is nice whenever there's targets that haven't taken damage, because it's going to heal them, but it applies wet to the targets, so that's obviously really nice. So I guess for just starting off combat, might just go with, we also have the planar ally Cambion here, so we can summon this guy in. This is going to just be another summon to help out, and I guess we don't really need our team here. I can kind of pedal them, because we don't really got to focus too much on keeping everyone alive when we got others that we can focus on the Cambion and the water Myrmidon. So to start combat, I'll just start off with a Raoul from Psychic Lance here to hopefully take them out and get right into combat here. So that didn't work, but that's fine. We also got our Myrmidon. It doesn't move the same initiative as us, unfortunately. That would have been perfect. I'm not sure where these extra guards came from, but yeah, it's all right. So yeah, we want to have water set up. That's going to be the best way of taking out as many enemies as possible. But we can also charm a bunch of enemies, so that's nice. It's equal to our proficiency bonus as well. But we can also go ahead with something like our Thunder Wave there, which Thunder Wave is going to push people back off of ledges. So with this, we can actually get pretty lucky if we're able to line this up properly and attack and knock out multiple targets. So yeah, it's all about positioning when it comes to this, so that should be fine there. And we got counterspelled, of course we did. That's all right. We also got ourselves a Mantle of Majesty, so we can use this as a way to just, I guess, take control of the battlefield. So we'll use that to just down them, so we command groveled. Perfect. This does require concentration, unlike the normal command spell. So as I mentioned, if you want to get the maximum amount of damage as a bard, this is the way to do it. Go with this. Most of them don't have any loss to health, so we can just pop our Myrmidon there. Creates a water surface too for us to make ice from, and then we also get double damage on our attacks, which makes this pretty powerful. And now that we have our water set up, this is where we can really blast as the bard. Again, this is just the strongest version of the bard, so that's why I'm going this route, but we're just going to go ahead here with our Cone of Cold. It creates difficult terrain. I'm not sure why more guards just got brought into the fight. Well, that's part of it, I guess. So then they'll be slipping around. This provides crowd control for our team. And then you can go ahead with other options, like we don't have the command, or I guess we have the Mantle of Majesty here, which can repopulate. But from this as well, we got the Mantle of Inspiration, which gives us the extra health as well. So you got bonus action kind of choices here. You can also use the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel to cast some spells as bonus action spells. But I think that in this one, it's probably best to just focus on using like your normal Mantle of Majesty or Mantle of Inspiration ones. We also got ourselves Mind Blast here, so this is really strong too. Illithid abilities can be very impactful in the game, so I'd recommend using them if possible. But we also got ourselves things like Confusion, which can be a really nice, just for, I guess, crowd control sake. Confuse a large group of targets there. Perfect. We don't have our bonus action, but they're all confused, and hopefully we'll start attacking each other. And it's back to us here, so we can go ahead with our Mantle of Majesty, and we can tell people to come towards this too, which is nice. So we can use that as our bonus action, and it got counterspelled. Of course it did. They didn't want us casting that on them. But then we can also, I guess, follow it up with we might slip on the ice, so let's hope that and didn't work out. The best part about Confusion is it'll cause people to just start attacking each other, which is huge. And that can make things a whole lot easier for you to take care of everyone else. But as I mentioned, having a Myrmidon is really nice just for the extra damage that they can provide and the applying of the wet status. So you can see there, they're starting to take each other out. And that's exactly what makes the Bard so deadly, is the great spell selection that you get to do things like this and keep your team safe. So yeah, you do have the ability to add temporary health to targets. So that's another thing. If you see your team starting to get low on health, you want to pop that Mantle of Inspiration here. So I can put this on my Cambion because it's low in health, and it'll also give them the dash so they get extra movement speed next turn, and we also get some extra movement speed, so we can get in and drop down some more crazy spells. We don't have our command anymore, but we can go ahead with something like a Clouded Daggers, because that'll actually hit 4 targets. So we'll drop that down, no check. They just take damage. Not sure where all these guards are coming from. I don't think they like my style of playing with this build, but we can also just drop a lightning glyph as well, because lightning glyphs, oh, that's gonna, oh, we made it up that close. That's fine. We got counterspelled by one of the random guards that just appeared. Of course we did. Everyone just got shredded by the cloud of daggers there, which is perfect, but we now have to deal with that group way over there. So I guess another confusion spell is good to drop, because with that we can also confuse that group there, and then hopefully they'll start taking each other out. The Bard is great whenever it's just setting up chaos for your team to control. The crowd control that you get is awesome. Also, didn't mention the long strider there. You can also use the enthralling performance here to if there's someone that's not affected by your confusion, you can kind of mind control them that way. We got more guards coming in. Wow, I've never seen this happen before. But yeah, I guess we'll just let them deal with things here, and we'll just let that happen. So yeah, confusion's nice because they just started attacking each other, and you can also cast confusion as a bonus action if you use the Band of the Mystic Scoundrels. So that's another nice use for it. And despite the odds, we were able to overcome our adversaries there by confusion and making them walk into the cloud of daggers. I actually got really lucky there because the command spell can actually make them walk towards something. You can just keep dropping them down into the daggers. So yeah, this is actually pretty useful. You can also make them just walk into the Cone of Cold. So you got lots of options for crowd control. I know the cold builds are something that's very common in Baldur's Gate 3, but it's the strongest version of the Bard, so I would be letting you guys down if I didn't show you guys something like that. But if you have Mistress Spells, Steel Wind Strike can also work very well too. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.